Who makes the best wedges in the world? If you ask the golfing public who makes the best wedges in the world, chances are they'll say, well, Vokey do. No different to putters. They'll turn around and say, well, previously Scotty Cameron, then we went through the Odyssey years, and now lab putters are the big story. And it doesn't matter what market you go into, drivers, well, Callaway, TaylorMade, it's all marketing. How much money do the companies spend to try and change our minds, or at least influence us what to buy? Now, if you've got lots of money, you can do it that way. That's the quickest way, that's the most expensive way, but it is the quickest way. Or you can do it a different way. Mizuno, as time has gone on, has decided to rather do it through the amount of money they spend, to silently and quietly add to the range to try and give as much choice to the golfing public like Vokey do. They make them in the black option, which I think you'll agree is quite a nice touch. The blue, which just looks lovely. And of course, they make the standard normal satin silver as well. The T1 slightly smaller and more so blends down the Mizuno Pro side of things, and the T3 is designed to kind of blend with the JPX style. In reality, you can blend both. Let's go see all the information about the T1, T3 wedges and what makes them different. At this point, you'd normally see the YouTube reviewers out on the golf course chip in shots around about that far away from the hole. In reality, all that does is showcase just how good their short game is and not necessarily anything to do with the golf club. No different to drivers, they can come in 4 different head styles, and they are absolutely designed for different types of golfers. These wedges have 6 different grind options. Let's go through every single one to see which one will suit what type of golfer. So on the screen, you can see I've got the 6 different grind options, starting with the S going all the way to the X at the end. Let's start with the S first. The S grind is their full swing wedge with a straight bevel relief. No different to that of the pitching wedge and the 9-iron, etc. That wedge there is designed to flow very much so into the normal irons. It's not until you get into the M grind that you start seeing some slight differences. You can see the M grind is an enhanced relief with moderate effective bounce. If you don't understand what bounce is effectively you've got the loft and you've got the sole angle. The sole angle is not basically parallel to the floor, it is tilted, and that amount of tilt is bounce. You can see by the graphic that it's got a slight amount of toe and heel relief. It is a moderate amount, it is not great whatsoever. It is designed for a golfer that's going to want still a good amount of ground resistance, but will still want a little bit of ability to open the face, but it hasn't got a lot of relief. When you go into the P, you can see the fact that it's got exactly the same or very, very similar profile to that of the M, but it's got more effective bounce. The P is very much so down the K grind route, I think it's the K, of the Vokey, where if you are playing in soft conditions or you are a little bit of a digger, shall we say, as in someone who definitely leads with the leading edge, the P grind will suit you very much so, because that will resist digging into the ground. And of course, a grind can only do so much, guys. If you're going to be leading with loads and loads and loads of shaft lean, then the leading edge is going to cut into the ground. And so the P is just designed to try and mitigate that as best as possible. Now you go into the C. The C grind there, you can now start seeing by the graphic, it is very much so more relieved on the heel and toe. What that means, more aggressive relief result in the C shape. That C shape allows you to open the face and lower the handle if you want to do a flop shot idea. And also my favorite is actually when you do toe chips. When you open the face a little bit and raise the handle, especially around the green and in areas where you've got dodgy lies, etc. Very much so, this can help you get out very easily without that risk of double chipping. The V, as you can see there, is the most aggressive relief of versatility. That is effectively the toe and heel absolutely chamfered away. That will allow you to really get the handle lower and open the face and really get the flops going if you are that type of golfer. No different to the toe chips, the one that I quite like. It'll allow me to open the face up, get that loft that I want, but then also allow me to get closer to the golf ball and lead with the handle a little bit higher. Now the X, you can see it's been modified on the graphic. It's got the most aggressive relief for versatility and low effective bounce. Now the thing is with the X, different to the V. The V has got the most aggressive relief, but it's still got bounce. So if you are a golfer that wants to be a little bit more creative with your wedge play, but you play on a golf course which is quite soft, the V is going to work better. If you are playing a golf course which is rock hard or very bare in its lie, yet you still want the versatility of the wedge, you are going to go down the X route. The X, basically without that bounce options there, is going to allow that leading edge to be lower. If you do the same thing with the V with a little bit more of a bounce to it, the leading edge will raise and you've got more chance of sculling the golf ball. Generally speaking, people aren't lucky enough to have different sets of wedges or multiple sets of wedges, but commonly it is one of those ideas that golfers play on different golf courses at different times. They can play on soft golf courses and also hard golf courses. Necessarily they do need different options, especially if you're going to be versatile with your wedge and play them in all these different ways. So let's just have a quick look at the quad cut grooves. The quad cut grooves, Mizuno have been quad cutting grooves for quite some time, and that basically just means this: they are cutting the grooves 4 times. Quad, you kind of get the idea, but they do it slightly differently. You can see on the screen there you've got between the lower loft options, the 48 to 52. You can see there you're using the normal narrower and deeper grooves there for try and basically take away matter. Grooves necessarily aren't there for the generation of massive amounts of spin. They do help, but the big point of having the grooves there is for one massive thing, is the distribution of matter. When you're hitting down into shots around the green with grass, etc., it's no different to tire treads. We're trying to get that water away from the surface. The grooves do the exact same thing. They try and dissipate that matter so you can try and get a good ball and club contact. When you start going into the 56 all the way to the 60, all those different grinds there, they've got the M, P, C, V and X. You can see they've got 16 scoring lines and the grooves are wider. This will allow them to get a little bit more better bite, they say, on partial shots. Quick word on the Hydroflow micro grooves. Hydroflow has been a term for the last few years talking about water dissipation, trying to get that water away from the face. You've got the main grooves which are there for matter, but you can see that the grooves on the face, they are basically designed to try and take away the moisture so you can get a consistent amount of spin. Now on the 46 to 53 wedges, you will play them generally speaking fairly straight on. I don't know many golfers which get their pitching wedge at 46 degrees or 48 degrees or whatever it be and then open it quite a lot up. They just don't do that. What you'll find is that players will mostly open up their more higher lofted wedges. What they've had to do when it comes to the Hydroflow, they've worked out that if they actually tilt the grooves on the face by about 10 degrees or so, that will match the amount of opening that the golfers, generally speaking, will want to open their face up by and allow the Hydroflow grooves to work properly. T3, if you have a quick look, you can see the difference between the T3 versus the T1. The T3 is slightly larger. It's got a wider sole and legion edge bevel, more offset and a shallow tempered cavity. Basically, the T3 is absolutely going to suit more of the JPX person. The person is coming from the Forge, the Hot Metal, or the Hot Metal Pro, anything like that, and wants a wedge which is going to suit. It's not going to go from a pitching wedge of, say, the Hot Metal and then instantly go down to a T1, which is much, much smaller, and it looks really weird. Now, of course, you can go into gap wedges, etc., and the sand wedge and lob wedge for some of these sets of the JPX. But when people want to go down a specialist wedge route, they don't want to see a massive difference in size and shape. With the T3, we have a distinctly more simple approach when it comes to its grinds. We don't have the 6 available that we do in the T1. The T1, absolutely being the more the pro side of things, is going to be used by the more of a short grain expert, where the T3 is more aimed towards the JPX style, where they want some amount of versatility within the wedge game, but doesn't want to overcomplicate things. So you've got the S grind. The S grind, going back to the T1, is their standard normal grind. It's going to flow much better with their normal pitching wedge, etc. You then go into the M grind. The M grind has got a little bit more relief on the heel and the toe, just allow a little bit more versatility around the green with open up the face and then moving the handle up and down. And it's then you've got the C grind, and the C grind is the most aggressive relief. You can really, on the C grind, if you want to, open the face up and get closer to it for proper toe chips, and also lower the handle if you really want to get the flopperoonies going. Again, you're looking at the differences between a golfer's going to want a T3 for a little bit more real estate, a little bit more confidence inspiring when they're hit, and the T1, absolutely, with all of their different bounce options and ground condition options, is going to be for the golfer that is going to need that versatility and the options of versatility within their wedge set. All the lofts and the bounces you can see are on screen. We do have quite A few. We've got from 46 all the way down to 60. We haven't got any 62s or 64s or anything weird and wonderful on there. Of course, there are golf clubs manufacturers that do make 64s and stuff. Just Mizuno is not going to be one of them. They are soft, they are lovely, they are 1025E with that copper underlay. Now Mizuno having all the options a golfer will ever need on their wedges, it is very much so down to what you specifically require. The fun thing about these wedges is, generally speaking, from prior times, unfortunately, the only way you could test one of these T24s or the T20s before them was just to go to an account holder and hope they had some demos there for you to test. Now, for the first time, the T1s, etc., are within the Swing DNA demo cart, which means when you're getting fit for your irons, you should also very much so and very easily get fit for your wedges as well at the same time and actually hit them, which is great. They come obviously with the different heads and the shafts. It is brilliant. Now, obviously the shaft options aren't as great, and of course you can't put a 7-iron shaft into a wedge. It would be a bit weird, but you have got a certain amount of shaft options and also head options that you can test within the normal Swing DNA cart. Mizuno really want to push the whole idea of getting more wedges out there, and the only way they can do that going forward is to make them more freely available, and by putting them in the Swing DNA cart absolutely is a proper massive win. Personally, I prefer the T1. I prefer the T1 on the basis I'm a blade player, so the T1 being smaller will absolutely blend with my size and shape of golf clubs more so than if you go down a T3. If you are a golfer that plays a bigger, more game improvement style or player's distance kind, you could possibly go both ways, especially with the player's distance, but with the game improvement, it would be the T3. T3 hasn't got so many options, it hasn't to, but at the end of the day, with a golfer which generally speaking goes for a game improvement iron, they haven't got the skill set necessarily to be using their T3 wedge in the same way that a T1 player would. Now, of course, that's a generalization and not always the case, but as a general rule, that's the reason why they have the split there. They look great. I especially like the blue option. Unfortunately, there is no copper outer looking one that they did in the T20 and T22, I think it was, I can't remember now. As an unfortunate thing, I really did like the color of those. They looked absolutely gorgeous, but that has got the copper underlay now to try and make them feel, and they do feel for wedges. Remember, Mizuno are forged wedges. A lot of manufacturers are cast wedges, and so Mizuno proved to be one of the softest feeling wedges on the market. Hope you liked the video. If you did, go on, give it a big old thumbs up, hit that like button. YouTube like, so do I. Down there is the subscribe button. It's free. It's the best button of the lot because it's great for the channel if you could subscribe, so thank you. And next to that one is the bell icon. That's a notification bell. If you click that one, that will notify you next time I upload another video. Hope you're well. We'll see you again soon.